Welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode number 285. My name is Brando, and thanks for if you're joining this podcast night train for the first time, or if you've been listening since episode one, you know the deal. 6 degrees of Guns N' Roses bacon. We'll get former and current members, well, maybe not current anymore, members of Guns N' Roses, but we always try to find, go down the path. Who could we find that's random, and get on here and talk about Guns N' Roses that we want to talk to. So those looking, you might know if you're a hockey fan, though. Then there are others questioning Armpit. They're like, what? Who is that? Because you look like a metal singer. But Derek, I'll call you this once because I know only your wife calls you Derek. But Derek Armstrong.
Right. If you call me Derek, I get serious. I don't like that. I like the free spirit Armstrong. I like being going by Army. When I hear Derek, I get all nervous.
I got you. So I wanted to reach out to Army. So actually, this is the 6 degrees of how I got connected with you. Former professional NHL player, and we'll get into what you do right now with the Los Angeles Kings and all that fun stuff. And 80s metal. That we're here to talk about 80s metal and Guns N' Roses. Of course, there's the 6 degrees, but I don't know if I mentioned this to you how I got connected with you. So using the 6 degrees of GNR bacon, I had Fred Corey on, and he works with you guys. Fred Corey. He does the sonic branding of the Kings. That's the name, Fred Corey. So he used to drum for Cinderella. And Cinderella, obviously, that time, plenty of connections to Guns N' Roses. He was actually in for one night in Guns N' Roses because Steven Adler broke his hand. So after I interviewed him, and I said, you know what? Since you work for the Kings, I really want to get an athlete on here. I've been talking about this, the whole podcast. I want to get not just, rock stars, but actors who I've had on. I've got wrestlers. I want to get athletes because GNR is always going to be the nucleus, but I want to see who else is a Guns N' Roses fan we may not know and talk to them and get some cool stories and have fun. So he suggested Luc Robitaille. Luke, if people know, one of the greatest hockey players ever. He played for, obviously the Kings and the Rangers and all that stuff. So when I'm talking to the Connect who was putting me in contact with Luke, he's like, you should talk to Derek Armstrong. He would be fun. He's totally a metal guy. So there's I had to mention all that because that's I didn't count how many degrees, but that's how I got to you, Army, to be on this podcast.
It sounds 6 to me. You're pretty close.
And you were so glad to do it.
And Luke was my line mate. So Luke, I know a lot about Luke, and now obviously he's my boss. So he's one of the best in the business for sure.
So what do you do now for the LA Kings?
So now I do TV. Obviously, I have a face for radio, but they put me on TV. I'm not sure why, but so I do TV. I have a Saturday. We have a Saturday it's called Hockey Day in LA, where we have a celebrity. We have like Snoop Dogg. We have all these celebrities that come on our show on Saturday. We do the pregame, and they kind of do intermission stuff, and they go on the TV, live TV, and broadcast, and we interview them at the end. So it's been really cool. I do all the Saturday games, just Hockey Day in LA, and then I also develop hockey over the world. So it's hockey development. I'm with the grassroots. So we're in Beijing, China right now, Shanghai, China. We're in our newest adventure. We're in Mexico City. So it's been awesome. I work with all these kids going to all these untraditional markets. I do hockey camps. We're in Park City, Utah. We're in Lake Tahoe. We're in all these non-traditional markets, growing the brand and growing this game. And it's truly amazing the job I have and then what to give back to the game. It's obviously for me, it's the greatest game on earth. If I couldn't be a rock star, I'm going to be a hockey player.
Oh, wow. I mean, I got to say over the years, my love of hockey has grown, and obviously music has kind of fused into it. I wanted to be a sportscaster. I think that's what was my initial drive. Always thinking hockey broadcasters, I can never do that. How fast they have to be. Your name and everyone's name, except for yours, I guess, is so hard to pronounce.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can never do it. So I went the dumb radio DJ.
Well, I'm on live TV and I can't pronounce them either. That's why I'm lucky. I'm lucky I know all the nicknames. My wife or my kids are coming to see. I always do training camp by myself. They come in, they go, "What's that guy's name?" I'm like, Firecracker. I'm like, "What's his name?" I'm like, Firecracker. I have no clue what anyone's real name is. Everyone goes by nicknames in the hockey world. So I can't pronounce anybody either as well.
What I did, and I know just a short, quick, dumb story, but maybe you'll like it. I did a public address announcing for youth figure skating. So 8, 9-year-olds. and it was in Brooklyn, and there's a big Russian area. And I wanted to get their names right. I asked one of the parents to call me the day before so I could write it out phonetically. They're like, "Oh no, they're little kids; they don't care." No, I want to get their name right. So
for sure.
Deliakovsky or all these things. But
Everything's off, full off, Tatis
yeah.
off, just that off at the end, and you get the Russian name right.
So obviously hockey's in your blood, but you're here because you were so excited to talk about music and rock. So I want to know, I guess when you were growing up and you're obviously putting on little skates and starting your career, was music a part of it, or how was it always kind of on the side? How much of music has been a part of your life? How much?
Music's always been big. I grew up born in the 70s, but grew up in the 80s. We used to have the yellow Walkman on our side of the tape. We used to have, before the rim, obviously Guns N' Roses, Def Leppard, Motley Crue. I had the big hair. It was always a big part of hockey because it got you excited to play. We didn't have Red Bull or Sudafeds back then, or all these energy drinks to get excited to play. So we had to use rock music. We used to walk with the big ghetto blaster. All the boys would get rock, and the Guns N' Roses, Sweet Child of Mine, and we loved Def Leppard for sure. Bon Jovi. It's even now we can have a karaoke in my basement sometimes, and no matter who's down there, 80s rock comes out and everybody can sing 80s rock ballads. So it's always been a big part, especially for pumping your brain up and getting the guys to sing together in the dressing room. Hockey's such an amazing team sport, and I usually when you usually have a winning song at the end of the year, and your winning song would be Sweet Child of Mine or anything from Guns N' Roses, and everyone in the dressing room would sing when you win. So it really brought my generation together as people, because you could understand the words to start, and who didn't want to look like those guys growing up, skin tight pants and long hair, and and it was awesome, and it's been a big part of my life for sure.
That's cool. Do you remember your first concert? Because you're from Ottawa.
I'm from Ottawa, yeah.
Because I was I got to see Guns N' Roses in Ottawa, but this was in 2006 where the Senators play.
Yeah, I played in Ottawa. Yeah, my first concert was Billy Joel. I went to Billy Joel. I went on my first year solid, but my favorite one, I got to go to Kiss, who's my favorite band of all time. So in Hartford, we got to meet Gene Simmons and stuff, and man, they are incredible in concert. They're not the greatest singers, but probably the best performances I've ever seen. Yeah, it was good. And then my 40th birthday, we went to Def Leppard in Vegas. Me and my best friend from Brad Smith, 40th birthday, went to Hard Rock Def Leppard in Vegas. It was an awesome concert. So I've been to a lot. Obviously, when you're playing hockey, we went to AC/DC in Minnesota. We were playing one year, and we went to AC/DC in Minnesota. So that was pretty cool too. They're an incredible band. I know they're not 80s, but man, they're an awesome rock band as well.
They cross over all.
Yeah, they all cross over. That's right. If you're a hockey player, you're a hockey player. You're a rock star. You're a rock star. We all love everything.
That's true. I wanted to invite a friend of mine on to the co-host, but he's working at the moment. I'm lucky that I get to do this.
Yeah, for sure.
Thing. But he's a big hockey fan like myself. My friend John from Long Island, who actually, for those who listen to the podcast, he was my co-host with the episode with Johnny Kelly from Typo Negative. But he's curious, like what concert perks maybe come along with being a professional athlete.
The best place I ever went to watch a concert is Red Rock Amphitheater in Colorado. I live in Denver now, and it is amazing, that place, to watch a concert. I used to train there a lot. The stairs, I used to run up there with a weight vest. But when you go to a concert there, man, you can get banged up. It is awesome. The acoustics are awesome. I know Rob Zombie a little bit. We've done some bowling tournaments with Rob Zombie. What a cool guy! But up there watching a concert, there's nothing like it in the world, for sure. I don't know if you ever been there.
We were just there in Denver, but we were only there for a couple days, so we didn't experience Red Rocks.
You gotta let me know. I live right down the street from there. So
yeah, I want to. We just came back from. We were in like Arizona for like 2 days, Utah for 2 days, Colorado, kind of just dipping our toe in, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I got to experience it more. But
you have to. If you're a music guy, you have to go to a concert. There's nothing like it in the world.
But do you ever do when you're? I mean, maybe not now. Actually, no, maybe now, since you're a big wig with the Kings and you're on TV. But when you go to a concert and be like, hey, I don't know if you want to say, hey, I'm with the Islanders. I don't know if you want. And I admit that as an Islander fan, I don't know if that'll help or hurt you.
It'll help you now. 5 years ago, it would hurt you.
Do you say like, does that happen? You know, hey, I'm with the Kings, and
We work with AG,
okay,
so AAG does a lot of country stuff. But I just from the years of playing, I know quite a few people, so we're pretty connected to the world. With I don't think I paid for a ticket in a long time, but I've given tickets back to people too. So when I played, I tried to give tickets to as many people as I could when I could, because that's the way it is. A little barter system in the business we're in. So I've always loved to give back to people who love hockey. And I've met a lot of cool people through music that are part of the music business. So hopefully I never have to pay for a ticket again. But if I do, I still would. But just because going to concerts, my wife loves music, my kids love music. So there's nothing like going to a concert.
anything ring a bell? Maybe like a fun story that maybe you were invited backstage to hang. Maybe like anyone.
Yeah.
Anyone.
Okay. Well, we know Kid Rock a little bit, so we've been backstage and hung out with him a lot. That guy is. I remember we went with me and Luke went. Me and Luke Robitaille. Luke brought me and his wife to watch Kid Rock. It was at an underground place in LA, and we go backstage, and then we're back there. My wife's gonna hate this, but we go back there. Cindy Crawford was back there, Kid Rock's back there, and then this guy that looked like kind of like a woolly mammoth, short little chunky guy, full of hair, and he had all these beautiful girls around him. I'm like to my wife, I know who that is. I knew who that was. My wife's like, who is it? It was Ron Jeremy. My wife's like, what? My wife's like, what the heck? How do you know who Ron Jeremy was? It was cool. And then Kid Rock came over. Kid Rock came over to my wife and said, and she's sitting there, and he's got some swagger to him. So we're Cindy Crawford and some of the people, not because of me, because Luke knows everybody. So he brought us backstage one day, and then we went back then, and Kid Rock came over, and my wife puts him in this. So he goes, "Hi, my name is Bob." I'm like, "Your name's not Bob. Your name's Kid Rock." So he introduced him to my wife as his first name as Bob, not Kid Rock. So it's pretty funny. My wife got all embarrassed, but it was a good time and got to meet a lot of cool people.
At least he didn't go, "My name is Kid."
Yeah, Kid.
That would have been so.
That was me and Luke. Me and Luke were doing that. We're like, that name's not Bob. We were making fun of him. It's not your real name.
That's funny. Do you ever have somebody, maybe like a Rob Zombie or Bob or Kid Rock? Do they ever are they in awe of you sometimes? Like, whoa, a hockey player. Does that happen?
Yeah, we do a lot of events. We do a lot of charity events with Hollywood people, and all the actors and rock stars want to be athletes, and all the athletes and want to be rock stars. Yeah, they're just fascinated by what we do for a living. It's they can't believe we're pretty humble guys, and we're just respectful people. They can't believe that we're such crazy animals on the ice, and in regular life we're just regular suburbia people. And it's pretty cool. And obviously what they do for a living, all of us want to be a rock star, because ultimately we're all performers at heart. And our sport, we get to perform, their sport, they get to perform. So it's pretty cool. But we all kind of want to be each other when we hang out at different celebrity events and charity tournaments and a lot of golf tournaments and stuff like that.
There really is a crossover, because I use a lot of sport metaphors with music industry as far, if there's changing members, it's like trading players, free agents. Do you root for the jersey? Do you root for the band name kind of thing? But obviously there's a music itself, literally, because if you go to the stadiums, more so, it just seems like rock. People say rock is dead. Not if you go to a sports game. Like it's always all rock, classic rock. You hear Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, Def Leppard all the time. And I remember growing up going to see you play at the Nassau Coliseum.
Back in my younger years.
All my younger years. I mean, I learned a lot of rock because it was before the internet.
Yeah.
What's this song on the loudspeaker? What's going out on the PA system? And it was interesting you said before Red Bull and all that stuff. That's what gives you energy.
Exactly right. It got your body moving, and I think everyone can relate because you can understand the words a lot, and they're like anthems, and people like to sing along. And like I said, we didn't have phones; like no one was looking at your phone. So to connect, that was how you connected to people, and in the stands, a song would be coming on, you'd be dancing during warm up, and people would be rocking out in the stands. It was just a cool way to connect to people, and rock and roll's not dead for sure. If you watch all those shows, American Idol, all those shows, they all bring back rock songs that they just put a little twist on them. But rock and roll will never die, and I think it will come back. That's my saying every time I hang up. Rock and roll will never die. So people laugh at when I say that, but I don't think it'll ever die, and it goes in stages, that, and they'll find a way to bring it back. But there's nothing better than, I guarantee that anyone who's driving their car and Def Leppard, AC/DC, Motley Crue comes on, everybody turns it up. I will guarantee it. I know I do.
When you would play, did you ever have any requests, to tell the public address announcer, hey, can you put on this song, or stop playing this too much? Do you ever
Yeah.
get involved in
that? Those guys are pretty professional. When I was in the minors, we always did. I like Limp Bizkit. They're a little bit 90s, but I like Limp Bizkit was great when they first came out too.
You had a little. You ever like a 90s Fred Durst thing or a 2000s?
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
Did you see what he looks like now? He looks like a like a cop. He grew a Fu Manchu and has
good for him.
Yeah. So.
He was a legend his time when he first came out. He had some great stuff, man. It was awesome. So we used to get him playing a lot, and there's always one or two guys that know music really well, so we usually leave it up to them to get it going. But probably my first 10 years, it was only 80s rock music. It was awesome. A little bit of hip hop in there too.
And as far as like in the locker room, was there somebody that would pick music, or how did that work? Or was there no music in the locker room, perhaps?
Just a second.
That's okay. I lost you. Should I pause it? Did you get a penalty? 5-minute major? All right, 5-minute major. I'll pause it. I don't know if you heard me. I was like, all right, I think he got a 5-minute major. I think he's got a
You heard the rap. There was a 2 and 10, actually. I wasn't tough enough to fight, so it was a 2 and 10. I probably swore at somebody and got kicked out.
So I forgot. Did you answer the question? Like if anyone decides the music that's in the locker room?
Usually it's an older guy, and sometimes when the older guys played 70s rock music or 70s music, you're like, yeah. When I first played, they'd be like Sinatra, and I'm like, I can't get excited with Sinatra in there. So I love New York or whatever. So there's usually a designated guy. Some guys like to do it because it's part of the routine. Because being a DJ is not easy, because this guy's always chirping you all day long. Like, that song sucks, get that off. So it's a lot of stress of 20 alpha males in a dressing room being a DJ, because you get chirped the whole time. I didn't want that kind of pressure.
That's true. Just being a regular DJ, you played that song, yesterday.
Exactly. Imagine 20 alpha males in there just chirping you no matter what.
I'd cower and hide it in. Yeah, that would work out.
Exactly.
So I have to talk about what I want to talk about. It's my podcast, and that's the New York Islanders. I was so excited. I said this year, which I don't know if either is going to happen now. All I wanted was new Guns N' Roses music, which I guess there's still time, or a Islanders Stanley Cup. Islanders
had a good run.
They had a good run, and when we were texting, I'm now wearing a shirt as I'm pointing. If you're watching on Zoom,
Love it.
Zygmunt Poffy, fisherman shirt, because you said that he was. How did you phrase it? That he was the best pure talent.
Best natural hockey player I've ever seen in my life. I'll give you 2 good stories about him. So Ziggy Poffy, like body fat test, you're always gonna be like 10-12%. Like Ziggy was always 20%, but he wasn't big. He's like 180. So, but he would come to training camp, wouldn't work out all summer. Because I play with him in the minors in Salt Lake, then I play with him in Islanders, and I play with him in LA. So he's one of my best buddies of all time. So we came into every league together. So he's like my roommate. He was awesome. But
wow.
He'd come to training camp, take his gear right out of the plastic. His skates would barely be sharp, and take his gear out of the bag and go be the best player on the ice that day. That's why he's so natural. He'd never train in the summer, nothing. So my first year in Salt Lake Golden Eagles, which was the Islanders farm team, Ziggy came over from Czech Republic. So he didn't understand in English yet. So I was the one teaching him English, which I can barely speak English. If anyone knows, I speak gibberish, which is ridiculous. So me and him always went to Cool Runnings. He loved that movie, Cool Runnings. That's where he learned a lot of English. So
that's amazing.
My mom comes down. We go to that movie probably 25 times that year. So my mom came down, and my mom's, just a nice Canadian girl. My dad was a military guy, pretty strict. So they come down, they meet us in Kalamazoo for dinner. And my Ziggy Puffy walks up to my mom and goes, I don't know what I won't say it, but if you can bleep it. He goes,
you can curse if you want.
Hey, Mrs. fucking Armstrong. That's how that's what he said, but he thought he was saying, like, hey, how you doing? He goes, hello, Mrs. fucking Armstrong. And my mom's face turned as red as could be, but he thought he was saying, hey, how you doing? So that was his first time my mom ever met him. I was like, what the heck is he saying? My mom, no one swears around my mom, so it was hilarious. And then the one year I finally made the LA Kings in '02. I get called up. I think Ziggy's making, I don't know, $4 million. Like there's a check for like $350,000 in his car that he hasn't even cashed yet. He didn't really care about money, but he goes, Army, because I just got called up, so I'm in the hotel, and he goes, Army, let's go for dinner. I'm like, perfect. So we go for, I'm making the minimum at that time. I was just in a minor, so I got all right money, nothing to give him, not like having a $350,000 check, not even cash in his car. I don't have that kind of money. So we go to Morgan Steakhouse, boom, and then we go to a movie. I end up paying for both of them. I'm like, you invited me to a movie, you got all this money, and I'm paying for dinner and a movie. It was ridiculous. And my third story with him is, so I roomed with him my first year in Denver. He was my roommate. So, but he used to lay on the couch all the time, laziest man alive, but always was resting his legs. That he thought was most important. So I'd cook every meal for him, every meal. And I wasn't a very good cook. I was just a kid. So I wasn't a very good cook. So the next year I met his mom and dad, and his mom and dad goes, how was it? And they don't speak English very well. How was Ziggy when you rooming? I go, he's not very good. He's like, are you kidding me? He went to school for cooking. He's called a cookanak. So and they go to ninth grade, and then after ninth grade, do a trade school. So from ninth grade to like 11th grade, he went to a cooking school. So he knew how to cook, but he pretended he didn't. I had to cook every single meal for him. So
he sounds like a hustler, and something is telling me he knew what he was saying to your mom.
Oh, he knew what he was doing. Oh, 100% he was. But like I said, one of the best. We grew up together, man. I played with a lot of players in my lifetime, and some of the most talented hands and feet, and you always get that cut back and that slap shot across the green, man. It was awesome and just funny and a hustler, like you said. Like don't let those people who don't speak English fool you. I'll tell you that. They know what they're doing.
Too funny. Because I got to say, growing up being a fan of those Islander teams, the Fish Sticks, and we have hockey fans that listen to this podcast. Again, it's all the 6 degrees. It really toughened me up because of just how bad they were. And I'm sorry.
We were bad, but the same thing, it's like that my generation, that when I was there in 96, if we could have been like we were now, we just, we had Pat Flatley was really good to me. Derek King was really good. Mick Facoda, Richie Pilon. They were all really good, except we didn't have they were Italian guys. Then there's me, Brian McCabe, Luongo was there, Pelfrey was there. Redden was there. We had so many good players. Just
great team.
That generation, it was all older guys that played. It was not younger players. So if we could have kept the nucleus together of younger guys, it just, unfortunately, it didn't work out that day. But I learned so much. Pat Flatley, one of the best men you'll ever meet in your life. Derek King was great. Mick Facoda, Richie Pilon. And I can go on stories about those two guys, but they taught me how to be pros, man. On and off the ice, people just think that playing hockey is being at the rink. There's so much more to playing the game than just showing up and playing. We're all talented enough to play at that level, but the life around it and the way you got to act and the people you are with, they were really good to me. And like I said, the LA Kings gave me my long-term NHL career, which I really, really appreciate. But I never would even get started if it wasn't for the New York Islanders. So I respect them, and I love them too as well.
That makes me feel good. And if I ever have an Islanders podcast, you're
I'll be on it. I have plenty of stories for them.
Because it's true, as you develop, and I talk about, of course, the music of my youth and sports being involved, and that's how people's personalities are shaped. And yeah, they were great players. When I got to meet all the players, hanging out in the Nassau Coliseum, everyone was super nice. You just wish they stayed together. That's how you feel about bands. It's like, oh, you wish they stayed together. I guess unlike, because athletes, this is one of the sports analogies I use, because athletes, everyone ages, but when you're playing for a team, you have to, perform and win. Winning is, I guess, is the goal. You play to win the game, as Herm Edwards said.
It's a period, especially in our business. It's a now business. If you can't do it for me now, then you guys gotta get out. That was the problem. We were just so young, and I think, and there was no salary cap era then, so it's so different. With salary cap era, you can be a lot more patient because, the LA Kings were kind of in a bit of a rebuild now. We got a lot of younger guys, Turcotte, Kaliev, we got Byfield, we got a ton of guys that are just young, like kind of the crew that I was with, but nowadays with the salary cap, you can be a lot more patient with them and give them time to develop. But in my generation, if you didn't produce in 1 or 2 years, everybody was gone. GM, coach, everybody was gone because it's salary cap era has definitely made sports, a lot more parity in all the sports and all the teams. I think is better for fans, but and for players because your window's a little bit smaller, a lot bigger to develop. You go into New York, especially New York, such a big city. You have 1 year if you don't play good. See you later. Go start washing dishes. So it's not an easy business for everybody.
No, it's not. And I guess there is somewhat of the difference between music and sports because, Axel and Slash, they broke up,
There's some
but
drama.
now they can get back together. And it's
Yeah.
not like, if someone doesn't like their performance, they're still putting on the music, they're entertaining. So there is the major difference. But I'm rooting, as I always say, for the logo of the team, the Islanders logo, fish sticks, or the one. Or rooting for the Guns N' Roses logo. So I guess I want to wrap up just with obviously more music talk. So since you said Kiss is your favorite band of all time?
Yeah, they're up there for sure. Obviously, I love Guns N' Roses. I like all kinds of music, but I love Kiss. My friends back home, when they came out with the costumes and stuff, it just watching them in concert is like nothing I ever seen. Because let's be honest, they're not the greatest singers, but they give one of the greatest performances of all times. And I see them a little bit later in age, and Gene Simmons walking around, and Paul Stanley. There's nothing about that. I never got to see Guns N' Roses. I wish Appetite for Destruction was probably one of the best albums of all times, and I wish I would have got to see him. And there's everybody wanted to be I was Axl Rose a million times for Halloween. It was hilarious. I would put the big hat on and thing and walk around and I think I was a rock star for Halloween, so it was pretty cool.
You were Slash for Halloween with
Slash. Slash. It was awesome. Walk around and I pretend I'd sit in the corner with a bottle of whiskey and a guitar, and I can't even play the guitar and just pretend that I was him. So everybody always wants to be a rock star, and when those guys first came out, I read their book. When they first came out, there's this like their kind of life's like our life. They got talent and they kind of worked their way up, and they're just playing small town gigs. Then overnight, all of a sudden, you get 100,000 people want your autograph. So they get fame very quickly like us. So you can see why they have a lot of drama, and you can't prepare for fame. They love music. I love to play hockey. I don't understand why anyone wants my autograph to this day. Probably them the same thing. I'm just a small town kid who love to play hockey, just like those guys. They're just kids that are talented, and all of a sudden everyone idolizes them. So there's no book on stardom, but those guys have to be one of the top 5 bands of all times, I would imagine.
Well said. And you got to see them now. They're back on tour. They finally get
I'll get to see them one day for sure. Yeah.
Okay, good. Because I wanted to ask though, because I guess a few of your favorite songs, like what would be your favorite Kiss song, your favorite Def Leppard song, and of course our song.
Def Leppard song would probably be "Pour Some Sugar on Me." I'd imagine everybody knows that song. In the bars, pouring the beers on your head. Guns N' Roses would be, "Sweet Child of Mine." I'd imagine that's pretty good. They're all pretty good, And then I love Beth. I love Beth from Kiss. Beth, I hear you calling. I can't sing obviously, but yeah.
I can imagine
my favorite song. My favorite karaoke song is "Journey," though. "Don't Stop Believing." I can sing that with the best of them. So I know the rockers might not like that, but I can sing it. And I still love that movie Rock of Ages. I know it wasn't great for everybody, but I still love to watch that movie Rock of Ages. All the 80s songs. I get up and sing on the kitchen table for the family, so it's great.
Oh, I love it. Army, this was a lot of fun. Obviously, you helped me fulfill some childhood dreams talking to an Islander and reminiscing about the days of old and Ziggy Poffy. But just to talk about, 80s metal, Guns N' Roses, with, again, using that 6 degrees with a professional athlete, somebody who's, really esteemed in the NHL as far as what you do for the LA Kings. And it's just cool kind of gets to talk music with you. And I don't know. Do you like that? Because obviously you're always talking hockey. You must enjoy talking about something else a little bit.
Well, I kind of get a little bit of the gift of gab, so I like to talk about it. I'll talk about The Bachelor if you want to, whatever you want. I'll talk anything you guys want. I just appreciate you guys having me on. And like I said, we were probably around the same age. 80s rock music is like nothing ever, man. All my friends back home, we sit around the campfire, or we go on a boys' weekend, and we get the beers out and we all sing karaoke to every song, man. Motley Crue's the same thing. There's so many ballads that are just incredible, and then "Dead or Alive" is one of my favorite songs of all times too. "I'm a cowboy on a steel horse I ride." And part of the reason that song is my dad passed away. My dad passed away in 2012, and then when he died, he had to hear my voice. So he called me. My sister called me and said, Dad wants to hear you. So he called me. Dad called me, and then he died on the phone talking to me, which is terribly sad. And 1 minute later, that song "Dead or Alive" came on. So, like, my son was graduating from high school in California, and we were like in Malibu taking pictures, and there was absolutely no service anywhere. I mean, no service. And on the radio, "Dead or Alive" came on. Like, it comes on at these strangest times, or like I'm having a bad day driving the car, and "Dead or Alive" will come on. So it's crazy how music can connect to people. And I still swear to this day that my dad's still listening around here. And if anyone ever hears that song, remember my dad, Tom Armstrong, and give him a little cheers up in the stands, because he was a good man, and my mom, gave me a good life. But that song has a special place in my heart.
I'm never gonna hear that song the same way again.
I'm a cowboy on the steel horse I ride. I'm wanted.
Just imagine you and Ziggy Poppy drinking beer, singing that song.
That's right. And watching Cool Runnings.
Yeah, watching Cool Runnings. Oh, that is the best. So here's since you want to keep, you have the gift of gab, you want to keep talking music, you can always come back on as a co-host, and maybe this will be your first task. See if Wayne Gretzky is a Guns N' Roses fan. Maybe you can get him on the podcast.
We'll see if I can pull some strings for you for sure.
Okay, thank you so much. So that does this episode of Appetite for Distortion. I hope you had as much fun as we did. When is the next episode? When's the next athlete going to come on? Well, in the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, you'll see it. I don't know if soon is the word.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to come back out for an encore, because I can't believe I forgot this, because I'm getting so excited. We have to talk about, because I have listeners everywhere, which was cool that you say that you teach hockey everywhere in the world. But let's get a little localized. What's going on with the garage sale for the LA Kings? Because I'm going to put this out the same day we're recording this. What is today's day? Monday the 2nd. So plenty of time for Saturday the 7th if you're listening in the area of LA. So go ahead.
Yeah. I got two good. Yeah, the garage show is going to be good. I think it starts at 10 o'clock on Saturday. It's at Toyota Sports Center and practice facility. Get out there. We are getting rid of everything. Players, old players gear, gloves, shirts, memorabilia. There's going to be a tough bunch of stuff. I'm going to be out there selling stuff. It's going to be, I think Daryl Evans will be out there. So there'll be lots of people out there selling stuff, getting rid of some of our old memorabilia and all these things. So there'll be the hockey shoot there. It's going to be an amazing day. And also make sure everybody comes to fantasy camp. Go to lakings.com. Fantasy camp is like nothing you'll ever have in your whole entire lifetime. We treat you like pros for a weekend. We have a hot stove. Bernie Nichols, all these ex-NHL players come. We put a stall up. You're like an NHL hockey player. You have 2 or 3 games. You get to go hang with us at night. We get to tell stories all weekend. It's hands down the most thing I would ever recommend anyone to do as an adult is to come to this fantasy camp. I promise you have the best time of your life. That
sounds like a lot of fun. It makes me wish you worked for the front office for the Islanders so I can
yeah, you definitely need a liver cleaning after that weekend for sure.
Yes, I can only imagine. All right, so that does it. I don't want to make sure I got that in. We got too excited.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
So that does it for this episode of Appetite for Distortion. Now, when are you going to see the next one? Well, in the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, you'll see it. I don't know if soon is the word.